Hi, welcome to episode 447 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. I have a blog called thecornerofknitandtea.com where every episode show notes will be, and I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns, and that is also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. It is Tuesday, October 31st. Happy Halloween. I'm wearing my orange sweater. This is the Nydia pullover, and I love it. And, you know, it didn't even occur to me that today was Halloween when I got up and picked out the orange sweater, but it's perfect. It is properly chilly here. It was approximately 25 when we got up this morning, so that is below freezing, so just below 0 Celsius. I usually refer to temperatures in Fahrenheit because I am located just outside of Kansas City in the United States. And it is properly cold. It's not supposed to get up higher than about 40 degrees today, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just a few degrees Celsius. So it is properly chilly and cool. It will warm up again this weekend, so we're not completely plunged into winter, but it is cool, and that means it is time for woolen sweaters and woolly socks and all the wonderful things that the cold season brings. So this podcast is a day late today. We were out of town this past weekend. My niece got married in Virginia Beach, and we had a lovely time. We drove out Thursday and Friday, and then the minute we got there, we were in the lobby checking into the hotel, and my husband noticed that there was a wicked 10K run the next morning, and he was eager to sign up for it. So on Saturday morning, we got up, and he did a 10K, and I did a 5K. I can't travel anywhere with him without finding a run. And then Saturday afternoon and evening, my niece got married. It was a lovely ceremony. We were at a restaurant kind of down by the beach. The weather was in the 70s. It got a little bit cooler in the evening, but it was really lovely. She looked beautiful. They did kind of a Halloween / goth themed wedding. So her dress was black, and all the flowers were dark burgundy, and it was very pretty. There is not a ton of family, so the wedding was small. There were probably only 30 or 40 people there, but it was nice to see some family, and it was just really nice to be there for her on her big day. So then we turned around on Sunday and drove home, so it was a lot of driving for a very short weekend. We decided next time we'll definitely stay for another day or two, but I needed to get back home for work, and so we just kind of turned around and did the marathon back. It's about an 18-hour drive, and we broke it up into 2 days, both ways, but it was still a lot of driving for a weekend, and we got home kind of late yesterday, and I figured I needed to do a podcast, but it just didn't get done. I had some laundry and groceries and trying to get back together to start the week, and so you get me today on Tuesday on my lunch hour. So I hope that you are doing well. Fingers crossed that we won't come home with any germs that we didn't leave with, and that we're kind of getting into fall, and of course November is going to be here tomorrow, which means NaKniSweMo, and we are kind of in the end run to the holidays and the end of the year. I know the next 8 to 9 weeks are just going to fly by, and it's going to be a new year before we can even believe it. So let's start with the tea. I keep forgetting to start with that. I am using my Hello Kitty Trick or Treat mug one final time because it is Halloween, and I am drinking a fall holiday themed tea. This is Cranberry Pear from David's Tea. I bought it several years ago, so I don't know if they still have the blend. If I do, it will be linked in the show notes. It is a black fruit tea. So it's black tea, cranberries, pear, apple, and a little bit of flavoring. And it is kind of the perfect fall sip in my mug, and it is quite warm, but I'm sure it's going to taste delicious. I've had it before. Actually, I finished the bag this time, so we'll have to see if they have any more. But another bag out of the stash, and some delicious tea to drink. So I did have lots of driving time, as I told you I would, and I did make some significant progress on knitting projects that I am pleased to share with you. So I did finish the body of my sweater. The sweater that I have been working on is Antique Flora. It is by Wool and Pine Designs, and I am knitting it as a sample for Zen Yarn Garden using their super fine fingering merino, which is a blend of superwash merino It's super fun. It's really super soft. It feels like there is cashmere in there, even though there isn't. It is a 90% superwash merino and then a 10% nylon. So it can be used for socks, but I'm actually using it in a sweater, and I am holding fingering doubled throughout. I am using 2 colorways. My main colorway is teal blue, which is a semi-solid. It's just gently, there's a little bit of kettle dyeing texture, just slightly, I don't want to say variegated, but there's slight variation in it, which gives it a little bit of depth. And then my contrast color is this really fun speckle, one of a kind. It's actually called Spatter, and it is just a teal blue spatter. And so it's got different shades of blue. It's got kind of a royal, a navy, a teal, an aqua, and so it's turning out really, really nicely. So before I left, I shared with you, last Monday, I shared with you that I had to rip out the a lot of the color work that I had done below the armhole, and that I had to rip back and do it again. And I busted my hiney last week and managed to get all of the color work done before we left on vacation. So I was able to complete the next 8 to 10 inches of the body while we were gone. So the body is complete, and I am really, really pleased with this. So again, Antique Flora is a colorwork yoke design by Wool and Pine, and it just has these really pretty botanical and kind of floral prints, and it has a massive colorwork section. As you can see, it's not just the yoke, but it also breaks and goes below the yoke to go down into the body, and then the rest of the body is the main color with some ribbing at the bottom, and then a new to me bind off, which was kind of interesting. It is an invisible sewn bind off. So obviously I have not blocked this. I will be doing so, and I am ready for the sleeves. Now, I thought about working on the sleeves while I was on vacation. However, I knew that I needed more of the main color. I don't have enough to finish the sleeves of what was originally sent to me, and that's not because I'm running out because of the pattern. We had some confusion in how much yarn was required for the size that I'm knitting, so I needed a little bit more of the main color to finish. And given that I got the package disbursement receipt on like Saturday, and that it was supposed to arrive yesterday, and it did, I decided to hold off on starting the sleeves until I had the extra yarn, because this is indie dyed yarn, and it's not commercial, and as such there may be subtle variation between the dye lots, and because they sent me this yarn over a month ago and then they're sending me more now, I wanted to be sure that if the yarn was very subtly different, that I was able to work it in. So what I will be doing is I will be holding a couple of, since I'm holding it doubled, I will hold one strand of the yarn I already had in my possession and one strand of the new yarn on each of the sleeves, so that I can be sure that it will kind of blend appropriately, and you won't get that real noticeable line where you have changed dye lots. So my plan is to crank out the sleeves this week. Yes, both of them, yes, this week. Each sleeve will have 30 more rows of color work, and then just some plain stockinette, and I'm sure a ribbing finish. And my plan is to knock out the rest of this sweater this week. I am knitting the size 37 per the pattern. Ultimately, I believe based on gauge, I came out at about 38 inches around the bust. But I'm okay with that. My second reknit was much more successful. Like I said, it wasn't closer to 42 or 43. It was closer to 38, which I consider appropriate. And I wasn't going to rip a third time. So basically, I just have the sleeves, and then this baby is ready to go. And I am really pleased with how it came out. And I will say that now that I have the finished motifs done, it's not entirely Cthulhu, although it really is, because I can see Cthulhu up here, and then I can also see him down here, and this, whatever this tulip thing is. So, sorry, I didn't mean to ruin that for you. So this one is almost done. It will be a kit, if I had to guess, by the time we get photos done and whatever. It will come out shortly after the first of the year. So if this is something you're interested in knitting or purchasing a kit for, it will be available. Again, from Zen Yarn Garden. I am paid to knit samples for them, but I do not get paid anything else. Like, I'm paid for my actual knitting time, but I am not an affiliate or anything. So if you choose to buy from them, that is, I don't get any compensation from that. So that is all on you. And I do enjoy working with them. So that is my Antique Flora sweater. I took a couple other projects with me on vacation because I was hoping to work through a few of my holiday knits, and I got some of them done. So last week I talked about how I was going to, and I showed you the beginning of how I was going to use a beautiful gradient skein from, it's Cumulus Rainbow from Juniper Moon Farms, and it is cotton and a little bit of nylon, and they are done in gradient skeins that start at one color and end in a completely different color. And I had talked about how I was going to knit the Musselburgh hat pattern by Isolde Teague, and that is a pattern that basically calls for you to knit a hat and a lining all kind of in one step, and the pattern is written such that you can use a wide variety of yarn weights in it, and also for multiple sizes. So it goes from baby to large adult, and then there are pattern instructions based on the gauge that you are getting. And the fun part about this hat is that you start at the very tip of the crown and you knit down to basically where your brim would be, and then you keep going from there and knit another hat and then decrease down. So when you end up, well, I will show you in just a second. So when you start at the beginning of the crown, she has you knit about an inch or two so that you can go ahead and figure out what your gauge is. And then based on the gauge you're getting, she tells you how many stitches to increase to, how long to knit, and then where to do your decreases. So I finished the first one. This is for Miss Roxy, and this colorway was, I believe, called Mermaid, and it is Juniper Moon Farm Cumulus Rainbow. This is the other skein. I'll show you in just a second. So like I said, it is 200, and it's a DK weight. It is 251 yards per 100 grams. Suggested needles are US 7 to 9. I'm on a US 7. And that says 16 to 20 inches, 16 to 20 stitches per inch, to 4 inches, sorry, so it's about 4 to 5 stitches per inch. And I went ahead and finished the first hat, and this is for Miss Roxy. And this is what you end up knitting. So you start, I started at this end, and you work all the way through the hat and all the way through the gradient, and then you end at this end, and you decrease and hide your end inside the, you weave in your end and then hide it in the inside middle of the hat so it is all one piece. And then basically you grab it and fold it in half and shove one side inside the other, and then you have a double thick hat. And of course, if it is long enough, you can wear it slouchy, or then you can also fold it up so you would have a quadruple thick brim if you wanted it to be sort of like a beanie or a watch cap. So this one is for Miss Roxy, and then the beauty of it is also that you can flip it inside out and you can wear it either direction, and so you have like 2 fun gradients. I thought this was a great use of this yarn, just because you get like 2 fun hats and styles. You can knit it in the same weight yarn. You could also, if you wanted to knit the outer in a thicker yarn and then the lining in a softer yarn, or something slightly lower weight, you could certainly do that. But it is just a great option for a super warm lined hat. So that is the Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague, knit basically per pattern for the child and small adult size. And so that's the hat that I got for Roxy. And then I went ahead and started the second hat, and I am about halfway through the hat for Miles. And his colorway is something about prismatic rainbow. It's not printed on here. It's just given a color on here, but sorry, it's prismatic kaleidoscope. It is written on here. And so this is the first part of his hat. It starts at kind of a red and goes through pinky purple to blue, and then I've also got green and yellow and orange. And I used up almost all the first skein in the first hat, so I will continue to do that here. It's a little bit of guesswork for me on, I mean, there's a measurement, but it's also a little bit of guesswork for me making sure that I have enough left to do the end, because obviously I could make it a little bit longer and it could have more of a brim, but I have to have enough left to then close the top of the hat and get through all the decreases. So it's a little bit of guesswork for me. Probably what I could do is I could have if I weren't in the car, I could have knit all the increases on the hat and then weighed the ball to find out how much I was missing, and then I could work until I have approximately the same amount left. But of course I was in the car, so I didn't bother. And like I said, I would say I'm a little more than halfway through this hat here, and so my plan is to finish that one this week. Then the other thing that I brought with me but didn't get started were socks for my mom, so those are going to go on the needles this week. So my plan is to finish the hat, finish the sleeves, and then hopefully start my mom's socks, and that should get me into a pretty good place for November knitting. So that is kind of all the progress I have to show you on knitting. I have made zero progress on spinning because I haven't really been home or at my wheel. I am currently spinning some fiber from Southern Cross Fiber, and it is kind of fall colors, oranges and greens. I have spun the first 2 ounces, and I will spin the second 2 ounces this week, and then hopefully ply before I talk to you again. I would very much like to spin, but for those of you who have been with me for a while or who watched the last couple weeks, I was out of my house 1 week for plumbing, and then I just didn't have time last week, and then we were gone all weekend. So hopefully get back into the spinning groove this week as well, and put a few more things in the shop. So the last thing I wanted to talk about today is NaKniSweMo, which starts tomorrow. I am absolutely not ready to cast on a sweater for myself. I am hoping to finish this sweater this week so that then next week I can cast on with abandon. But I did want to bring both a picture of what I'm going to be making for myself and show you the yarn. So I opted this year, I really wanted to use a sweater quantity that I bought myself in New Zealand. And I should say I wanted to use what I thought was a sweater quantity. It was not quite. So I bought some really lovely yarn in New Zealand. The big thing in New Zealand is possum, and it's not quite like our possum in the United States. I'm not talking opossum, I'm talking possum, and it is kind of in the mink family and kind of other varmints that have really, really lovely soft hair. And so what I got is I got something from Countrywide New Zealand, and it is called Possum Merino Opulence in Fiber. So this is the yarn itself, and it is 25% possum, 75% merino, 100% New Zealand made, and it is 30 grams. It is a 30-gram ball, 100 meters, which is about 110 yards, and it is an 8-ply DK weight. So what I got was I got the full bag, which was 10 skeins of this. And I realized when I got home, I only had about 1,000 meters or about 1,100 yards. And generally for my size sweater, I need a little bit more than that to really get a good full-size sweater out of it. Now, NaKniSweMo, I've talked about this many times before. You can Google it. You can check out the Ravelry group if Ravelry is a safe place for you. The goal of NaKniSweMo is to knit a sweater made of 50,000 stitches in the month of November. That's kind of the goal. It is based on NaNoWriMo, which is to knit a novel made of 50,000, composed of 50,000 words in the month of November. It is just a fun challenge. Like I said, there is a Ravelry group. There are a variety of groups who do knit NaKniSweMo and knit a November sweater. There are, so the official group on Ravelry was started back in the day by Shannon Oakey, who is Knit Girl and the publisher of Cooperative Press. And the way she set it up was that the rules were that you had to make a sweater that had 50,000 stitches to be eligible for prizes. We still sort of stick to that rule. I count the number of, I should say we, because I am a moderator in the group and I am one of the few active moderators in the group. So if there are prizes and things around that, I'm usually the one who's sort of coordinating that. We do require that you knit a sweater of 50,000 stitches to be eligible for prizes. It needs to be one sweater. It can be any size as long as it has 50,000 stitches. No, I can't reach through the computer and count. It is the honor system. We hope that you'll participate on the honor system. As far as I'm concerned, that's basically the only rule for NaKniSweMo to be eligible for prizes. I keep saying to be eligible for prizes because rules only apply if you need them to apply to be eligible for prizes. If you would like to knit a sweater this month, whether you would like to knit a baby sweater or an adult large sweater, whether you would like to use big chunky yarn on big needles or itty bitty tiny yarn, it doesn't matter how many stitches you knit if you would just like to hang out with us and knit a sweater. So I encourage you to do so. Honestly, the reward for knitting a sweater in November is to be able to say you knit a sweater in November and you have a brand new sweater perfect for December, January, and February. Some people use it to knit a sweater as a holiday gift. Some people use it as a break from holiday gift knitting to knit something for themselves. Not everyone finishes in November. There is always a group of folks who don't quite make the deadline and continue knitting into December. You are encouraged to continue to participate in the group and show your photos. We are all cheering each other on. Like I said, it's really just if you want to be eligible for prizes, and there is a caveat there. which is the group members themselves donate the prizes. Some years we have lots of prizes, some years we don't have that many prizes. It is not a big sponsored thing. We don't have any yarn sponsorships. It really is for the fun of knitting a sweater in the month of November. So if you are interested and can use Ravelry, come check it out. You can also participate on Instagram or Facebook. You can just tag your photos with NaKniSweMo and the year. So this year it would be NaKniSweMo 2023. Again, it's just about camaraderie of us all knitting a sweater at the same time. So, most years I have knit an adult sweater and have been, quote, eligible for prizes, although by virtue of being the moderator of the group, I'm not eligible for any prizes. So most years I comply with the spirit of the law and I go ahead and knit a 50,000 stitch sweater. Sometimes I have knit those for myself, sometimes I have knit those for other people, sometimes those have been samples. The rules are basically, I should say the only other rule is that it has to be done in November. To be eligible for prizes, you have to cast on November 1st and cast off by November 30th. We respect that there are time zones all over the country, so you cast on in your own time zone and you cast off in your own time zone. Usually I allow a day or two lag to finish blocking and taking photos, but all the knitting and kind of finishing work should, if you want to sew on buttons afterwards, that's fine, but all the knitting and ribbing and all of those kinds of things, seaming, all of that should be done before the deadline is, before the 30th of November at midnight, wherever your time is, or I should say 11:59 p.m. on November 30th. I have done this every year since I think 2009 or 2010. It's fun. I still have some of the sweaters in my wardrobe. Some of them I have given away. Because of the fact that I have a sweater quantity that I want to use that's not quite a sweater quantity, and because I am not eligible for prizes anyway, this year I have decided to say screw it, and I have picked what I want to knit, which will definitely not be 50,000 stitches. So this year, for whatever reason, I am not complying with the spirit of the law, but I am knitting myself a garment that I will love and wear in the coming months, and that I would like to knit. So the garment, I printed this out. It's not a great printout, but I printed it out. I can't show you on my phone because I'm recording on my phone, so I can't show you the photo, which is why I printed it out in the first place. I am going to knit the Lytton vest, and this is by Erica Knight. And it is a DK weight vest. It's kind of interesting. It's very ribbed, as you can see. And let me see if any of the other patterns show up. I don't think it's going to show up real well. Basically, there is a square piece in the back, and then it looks like the front parts of the vest and the neck of the vest are kind of a big piece that is picked up and knit all the way around. And I decided, because I had this possum merino, and possum is super, super warm. It's extra, it's a little bit like if you have yak or some of the really fine stapled fibers that are really, really light, and they hold pockets of air, and so they're really extra special warm. So I have a bag of my possum merino that I'm going to use to knit Lytton, and in my size to finish for a chest of 36 to 38 inches, it is going to take me approximately, it wants 400 grams of yarn, and that's at 220 per 100 grams. I have not done the math well. I'm not sure if this is going to be the right gauge. I haven't swatched. I haven't anything. So I'm going to be working on that. Yeah, I'm looking at this 220 to 240 yards. That's more like a worsted weight. Interesting. So, and I have more of a 8-ply DK jumper weight. So I'm going to swatch, and then what I'm going to do is pick the size that the numbers work closest to me. And I'm going to knit from that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I don't expect that I'll actually cast this on this week, but I did want to show you because this is kind of the last podcast before the kickoff tomorrow morning. Maybe I will swatch this week if I'm good and finish my other projects. And then next week I will start my vest and I will work on this through the end of the month. Usually I finish my NaKniSweMo project while we are traveling for Thanksgiving. So I think that's about it for today. I know, like I said, I know I'm really light on spinning content. Hopefully I will have more of that soon. I hope that you are having a wonderful week. If you celebrate Halloween in your part of the world, I wish you a few tricks and many treats. My niece and nephew, the little ones, are going out tonight to trick-or-treat, and so I'm eagerly awaiting pictures. And actually, it is Roxy's 10th birthday today, so I'm going to call and talk to her later, and that will be super fun. Otherwise, I wish you, excuse me, I wish you a wonderful week ahead. I hope that the weather holds wherever you are, that you are healthy, and that you are full of crafting mojo. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.